If you enjoy True Crime Buzz, but need some more true crime in your life, then check out this other awesome podcast that we highly recommend.
Hey, podcast listeners. Are you obsessed with true crime? If you're like us, you can't get enough. Hi, I'm Jessica, and together with my husband Bryce, we created a little podcast by the name of What Happens in the Woods. We're just your average couple living normal lives who felt the need to share our love for true crime and sensational cases with the world. We talk about crime stories that take place in the Pacific Northwest, and we want nothing more than to share them with you. Come join us every first and third Friday of the month as we take a deep look into the dark and twisted stories of the Pacific Northwest here at What Happens in the Woods. Episodes are available for download on any listening platform or on our website, www.whathappensinthewoods.com. It isn't for the faint of heart, but we promise it'll be worth it.
Welcome back to True Crime Buzz. I'm your host, Amber, and with me, as always, is Brittany.
Hi.
Brittany, what are we drinking today?
I'm drinking that Diet Sam's Cola.
You got your Sam's Cola back?
Yes, grocery pickup, girl, grocery pickup.
Well, hallelujah, because I know you've missed it.
I have. It's been a lonely world. What about you? What are you drinking?
Drinking that Rex Goliath. Old Faithful.
That's right. We're with our usual drinks tonight. I know everyone will be happy.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, it's getting to the point where do we even need to ask each other what we're drinking? Because it's always the same. Well, no, you had a rum drink last time.
Yeah, that's true. But for the most part, it's always the same.
It's usually, yeah.
And sometimes you'll mix it up and have white wine.
Yeah. So what is your personal true crime story this week?
Oh, so my personal true crime story of the week is that I was helping my neighbor bake cakes, and I didn't realize her pans were brand new, and she wanted to oil them, and I would have been like, if I'd known they were brand new, I would have said, hey, no, we should spray them, or like wash them first, then spray them, you know.
Yeah.
And it stuck. All three of them just fell apart, so we had to make a second batch.
So they just stuck to the pan, like you couldn't get them out, and they just kind of crumbled to pieces?
Yeah, no, I tried. And I could get, like, the outer edge of the cake, but the middle part was just stuck like Chuck, and it would just fall apart when I'd finally get it out.
Oh, no.
Luckily, our second batch came out better. But
well, that's good. At least it was the second.
Yeah, it delayed a lot of cake baking, though, with 6 kids running around, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a true crime.
What about you?
My personal true crime, 100%, is that I decided to try to be more productive and better with my time management because, you know, this is not our full-time job. It could be. I hope it is one day, but right now it's not. So I have decided to work earlier in the morning to have my afternoons open to work on the podcast. And I'm not a morning person, so I usually start my days at 9 a.m. I've decided to start them at 7 a.m. And there is not enough coffee in the world to get me through this first week. Hopefully next week we'll be used to it a little bit more, but as of right now, it sucks. It's nice getting off earlier and being like, I have so much of the day left and I can get so much done. But getting my body out of my bed that early, it's rough. So that's my personal true crime. There needs to be more hours in the day for me.
Yes. For me too. There's never enough hours in the day, girl. So I'm with you.
And like you know, having time with your kids and stuff, and it's like having to manage and make sure every aspect of your life gets the love that it needs. It's hard sometimes.
It is.
But I think this will work. I just need to put on my big girl pants and
get
over it. We got this.
You do.
But anyways, what are we talking about today?
Today, I'm covering a very strange case, one that doesn't take place in the U.S., but is surrounded with curiosity and is highly publicized. If you have never heard of it, once I tell you about it, I doubt you will ever forget it. Our story today takes place in the romantic city of Paris, France, but is far from lovely, and it involves a Japanese man who went to France to obtain his PhD in literature, but instead succumbed to his desires and ended up biting off more than he could handle. Today I'm covering the story of Issei Sagawa, the Paris Cannibal.
Ooh, another cannibal story. I'm here for this.
And look, I had to Google how to say his name because I didn't want to mess it up. But
Right.
I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of names in here that I might mess up. So bear with me. Isai Sagawa was born on April 26, 1949 in Kobe to super wealthy parents. His father, Akira Sagawa, was president of Kurita Water Industries, and his grandfather had been an editor for the Asahi Shimbun, the Morning Sun newspaper, one of 5 national newspapers in Japan and the second largest circulating newspaper in the world.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so your boy came from money.
Yeah. High society for sure.
Yes. But little Issei was a preemie, and he was so small when he was born that he could fit in his father's hand. Just a tiny little fella. Yeah. And when he was born, he developed enteritis, a disease of the small intestine, but luckily made a recovery after treatment of several saline injections that had potassium and calcium in them. Due to his health issues, though, he became an introvert and spent most of his time reading. He fell in love with literature, and when he was in 1st grade, he saw a man's thigh, and that's when he had his first cannibalistic desire.
Hold on.
1st grade.
There's so many details in that one sentence you just said that I need to fully process. He was in 1st grade. He saw a man's thigh.
A thigh.
And thought, that looks tasty?
Looks tasty. Yum, yum. Eat 'em up.
Oh, okay.
Of course, now this is just a desire. He did not obviously eat this man's
Right,
thigh.
but he had the thought. Because I know when I was in 1st grade, all I cared about was watching The Lion King and coloring. I don't know. That really hasn't changed much now that I'm an adult. I like to do the same things, but I certainly wasn't thinking about eating a man's thigh.
Me either. Issei later said in an interview with Vice that as a child he partook in bestiality with his dog and had constant cannibalistic desires for women.
Ugh. That made me so sick to my stomach.
Oh, just hold tight, friend, because this hits like all the nasty stuff.
Great. I love how I went from so excited to holy crap, where are we going?
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Yes.
Yeah, it's rough. Issei decided to go to college and settled on Waco University. He even went on to get a master's in English Lit at Kwansei Gaikuan University. But let's back up a little bit. So when Issei was 24 and still going to Waco and Tokyo, Issei noticed a tall German woman and decided to follow her. The woman was headed to her apartment, so Issei decided to hide outside and wait for the woman to fall asleep so that he could then break inside the house, slice off a piece of her butt cheek, and then run off with it and eat it.
Okay.
I wish people could see your face. It's so good.
I'm sorry, how old is he at this point?
He's 24.
He thought, I'm gonna wait till she goes to sleep, slice off a piece of her butt cheek, and then run off with it?
I'll just run off with it and eat it. Not even cook it, just eat it.
It's like a cannibal fast food.
Yeah. Speedy
Gross.
service, you know? Yeah,
Gross.
pretty much. It is very gross. So, when the woman finally dozed off, Issei broke in and snuck to the woman's bed, but the woman woke up terrified, because of course.
Duh. Yeah.
She pushed Issei down and ran to call the cops. Issei was caught and charged with attempted rape, but of course, Issei's father stepped in with his big bucks and paid the victim. And so charges were dropped, and Issei didn't dare tell anyone about his actual intentions of cannibalism. So he just let people think he meant to rape this woman. Because, of course, like, you don't want to be like, no, I was going to eat her, not rape her.
That's pretty bad when, like, that's the lesser... Like, that's the part you're willing to lie about and admit in comparison to what you really wanted to do. Like, oh, I was only going to rape her. Like, what?
Right?
Okay. We've obviously already gone through the childhood, but, like, was he just born this way, Lady Gaga, or...
Well, I mean, he said in first grade that was the first time they ever wanted to eat someone.
I know, but I guess, like, was there any sort of abuse or a bad home life?
Nope. Just a small intestinal issue. And of course, I'm not a scientist that researches cannibalism. But you know how people have issues with their intestines or their bodies and they will eat things to try to make up for like deficiencies in their diet?
Yeah, but none of that includes butt cheek.
Well, no, but some of that leads to pica, you know, where like you could eat dirt or dryer lint or things like that. No shame, and cannibalism and pica are two very different things. But I wonder if maybe a small intestine issue caused him to have that urge to eat. And there's no way of knowing because, like I said, not a scientist that studies cannibals. But that's really the only thing. He was born super early. He was super small. He had small intestine issues.
But other than that, he had a good childhood, from what we know. Okay.
Yeah.
So he was just a freak.
He was something.
He was hungry.
He was very hungry. So when Issei was 27 in 1977, he moved to Paris, France to get his PhD in literature at the Sorbonne in Paris. Later in life, Issei said of his time in Paris, quote, "Almost every night I would bring a prostitute home and then try to shoot them. But for some reason, my fingers froze up and I couldn't pull the trigger." End quote.
He's almost like a Jeffrey Dahmer. Not just because of the cannibalism, but because, like, there's a process killer and a product killer. Like, the people actually don't want to do the killing. They just want the reward at the end.
Right.
He's like that. That's insane.
This is a different time, but nowadays, there are, like, people that I've seen news stories about that will, like, let you eat part of their thigh or their calf or whatever. They sign waivers for that. And you don't have to kill a person for that, obviously.
Are you joking?
No.
Is this like a sex thing?
No, I guess, I don't want to say all cannibals are, it's not a sexual thing for them. I think it's just an urge. But some people, yes. There's actually a story of a woman in North Carolina. Well, that's a whole different story, and I will cover it at some point in time. But she consented to letting this man do some things like that to her and had it in writing. And so the police were very torn whether they should charge him on stuff like that.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I've heard some sick stuff because obviously we're into true crime, but just like hearing even just a morsel of what you're talking about so far, I'm just like, how?
Yeah, let me just go ahead and put it out there. If some body parts of mine go missing or somebody eats me, I did not consent, okay?
I did not consent either.
So, there you go.
Do you experience digital eye strain from too much blue light exposure from digital screens? Baxter blue glasses are not your average frames. These blue light lenses filter 80% of the highest energy blue light, eliminating 99% of glare. The past year, we have all been glued to our devices more than ever. I know as a podcaster, I look at my screen way too much. Our exposure to digital light has soared, and our eyes and our sleep are suffering as a result. Baxter Blue is also a force for good and provides a pair of reading glasses for someone in need for every pair sold. This is eyewear built for our digital age, and Baxter Blue is giving our listeners 10% off your next purchase of blue light, sleep, or kids glasses. Click the link in our show notes for your exclusive discount. This is the sign you have been waiting for to invest in blue light glasses. We know you will love your Baxters, and we know that you will feel the difference.
So evidently, he really stayed away from these urges. He's 27 at this point. So for 27 years...
So it sounds like he's trying to not...
Yeah. I don't think he actually wanted to kill people. I think he just really...
He just wanted the reward. Like, if he could go to a meat market and they're like, hey, we got some fresh Caucasian thigh back here on sale, he'd be like, I'll take 2 pounds, you know? He wouldn't...
Yes.
He's like me. I don't want to meet the cow and I don't want to kill the cow, but I want the burger.
Right. Except for humans.
Okay. I'm trying.
Okay. Try as you may. I don't know that you'll ever understand cannibalism because it's wild to me. It's wild.
Nope, sure won't.
So, while in school, he met a classmate, a Dutch woman named Renee Hartveld. She was young, she was 25, beautiful, sweet, smart, and she was 5 feet 10 inches and the picture of health. All of these attributes stood out to Issei because he was only 4 foot 9 inches tall with health issues. He saw himself as weak, ugly, and small. So Issei was drawn to Renee and claimed he wanted to, quote, absorb her energy, end quote.
I mean, people did that shit back in the Dark Ages.
Yeah, but...
like, emperors and stuff, like, during battle, they would get their enemy's blood and, like, bathe in it or drink it and think that it, like, would make them more powerful and stuff. So, he ain't the first to think that.
No, but I'm not trying to absorb anybody's energy by eating them, you know?
Oh, absolutely not. I'm fine with my energy. Thanks, though.
Yep, my energy's good over here. A little tired, but it's good. So, on June 11th, 1981, Issei, who was 32 at the time, invited Renee to his apartment at 10 Rue Erlanger. He lied and told Renee that his professor wanted some German poetry recorded, so Renee went to Issei's apartment under that pretext, unsuspecting of Issei's real intentions. Issei chose the poetry for Renee to read, and while she was reading it, Issei went behind her and got a gun. The whole time he was doing this, he was talking to her with a smile on his face.
Creepy.
So creepy. So Issei has said that he was scared in those moments leading up to this, but this time he didn't freeze. He pulled the trigger. He said that after he shot her in the neck, she kept talking, but eventually was silent, and she first hit the table and then the floor. And Issei passed out from shock that he had killed someone, but awoke and realized that at that point he had to follow through with his plan. So he then laid a towel under her head and he had sex with her corpse. And that's when he decided that he wanted to eat all the gross points.
So he wasn't cool with murdering somebody, but now that they're dead, like,
yeah,
let's
I
have
guess
some
maybe
fun.
it turned him on, like when he realized he was finally going to get to eat her. So I don't know.
Ugh. Okay.
There's actually an interview with him, and we will link it.
Oh,
Yes,
I can't wait to watch it.
He's very detailed. He remembers this. He had it all planned out. He wanted to devour her butt first. He said, quote, it looked delicious, end quote. But it had to be the right cheek, though, because he said that, quote, the left cheek is closer to the heart and I'm scared of blood, end quote.
What?
But you're scared of blood? But, like, he's literally talking about, like, not even cooking this person. Just, like, biting into her. What do you think's going to be there, bro?
I mean, again, he just wants to go to the meat market and pick out his rump roast.
I think he could have just went and got some roast and just imagined that it was human and been okay. But he didn't go that route. So he bit into her right cheek, but realized it was too tough and his teeth weren't sharp enough because it hurt his jaw. So he tried cutting it with a fruit knife, but that didn't work. It wasn't sharp enough. So he went to the market and bought a butcher's knife, which was sharp enough. So Issei tried various parts of Renee's body, cooked and raw, his favorite pieces being her face, breast, and her rump. He would take pictures of Renee's body at each stage of eating and kept body parts in his refrigerator. Some of his favorites.
He almost has like a Jekyll and Hyde thing going. It's almost like he gets in this mode of that's all he wants, but then part of him's like, no, bro, this is disgusting. But then the other part takes over and suddenly he wants to treasure it and savor it. This is weird.
It is weird. So Issei then decided to get rid of Renee's remains. So he stuffed what was left of Renee into 2 suitcases and went to the park to drop them in the lake at Bois de Boulogne. But of course, a guy at a park carrying 2 heavy suitcases is super suspicious.
Yeah, especially when you're like dumping them in the
I don't
lake.
know that he ever made it to the dumping part. But I mean, it was a body. And he was a little guy, so he was caught in the act.
Just picturing like a little guy like struggling to carry this like 5'10" lady chopped up into suitcases.
Yeah, but he was caught in the act with the suitcases and arrested by French police.
I would have loved to have seen those police.
Yeah, like, what's in the suitcase, friend? Oh, a body.
Yeah.
In the park, like
Yeah.
tons of people around. That had to be super awkward. Issei sat in French prison for 2 years awaiting trial. And of course, his dad came in with all his wealth and got the best legal defense team possible for his son. Issei was found legally insane and unfit to stand trial by Judge Jean-Louis Bruguiere and ordered him to be held indefinitely at a mental institution. While institutionalized, Arthur Inuhiko Yamada visited Issei and wrote Issei's account of the murder under the title In the Fog and published it in Japan. And when he did that, it made him a celebrity. The publicity was insane, and so France decided to deport Issei back to Japan to the Matsuzawa Hospital in Tokyo, where psychologists deemed him sane and said sexual perversions were his motive for killing Renee. And to make matters worse, the French had sealed his records after his transport and dropped his charges, so Japanese authorities could not legally detain him.
Why did they do that?
I don't know.
They were just like, he's your problem now. Let's just pretend this never
Yeah,
happened.
and let's seal it up and not let you guys have any access to any of his stuff so you don't know what he did or... So, I mean, they couldn't legally detain him. They could not detain him. So he checked himself out of the hospital on August 12th, 1986 and has been a free man ever since.
You are joking.
I am not joking you.
So he's just out walking all willy-nilly.
Oh, he's not just been walking willy-nilly. So he's free, and he's out here capitalizing on the murder he committed. Between 1986 and 1997, Issei was constantly invited to be a commentator or guest speaker at events. Also in 1992, he appeared in a film. And I'm going to say the Japanese name of this, and it's going to go bad. The film was called Yuakazuma Chijoka Zime, but it translates to Unfaithful Wife, Shameful Torture. And in that film, he starred as a sadomasochistic voyeur. So he's a movie star. He's in a movie.
What the hell? And making money off of it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's proud of it.
And people are buying it. He's also written a few books about the murder he committed. A book called Shorin, which is about the 1997 Kobe child murders. He has also written restaurant reviews for magazines, which is so fucking gross to me.
I would love to read one of his reviews.
Okay, but it's like, hey, honey, what's on the menu for tonight? Oh, this great new place recommended by a cannibal, because, you know, cannibals have great taste. Like, what the fuck?
I feel like this whole story is made up.
It's
And I know it's not because... But, like, it's so out there.
Well, let me just add to that, because I forgot that part. But when he was released, like, people were not happy about it. And it's since been criticized. I bet the French don't ever deport somebody and seal their records and do that kind of thing anymore. I bet not. But no one was happy about it. Let's put it that way. So he was riding at the top of the fame train, but eventually publishers would not publish him anymore. And he couldn't find employment. He almost got accepted by a French language school because the manager thought it was super courageous that Issei used his real name on the application.
Courageous. No.
But word spread, luckily, and employees protested, and he was ultimately rejected by that school. And in 2005, Issei's parents died, and he was forbidden to attend their funeral. But he did pay off his parents' outstanding debts. And then he moved into public housing and began receiving welfare for a time. In 2011, he did an interview with Vice in which he said, quote, being forced to make a living while being known as a murderer and cannibal was a terrible punishment, end quote. And to that, I say, cry me a river.
Exactly. It's like I have so much to say, but at the same time, I have nothing to say. Like, I can't even get my words out because it just makes me angry.
Well, my thing is, how many criminals, and I'm not necessarily talking about murderers, but just criminals in general, wish that they could be on the outside doing something with their life. I mean, of course it would be hard, but I'm sure they would rather be free. And this dude's a free man out here, like, being in movies, writing books, and complaining. Like, I just can't. I just can't even. So then in 2013, Issei Sagawa suffered a cerebral infarction, which permanently damaged his nervous system.
Good.
He now lives alone.
Good.
But his brother and caretakers that are paid to take care of him have to come by and take care of him. He is said to have regretted his obsession. And with that, I will leave y'all with this quote from Issei's Vice interview, because I just feel there's no other way to end this story. Quote, "Sometimes I wonder why I did such a horrible thing. Maybe it's because I came from another planet or another dimension, and I accidentally fell to Earth like a meteorite, disguised as a baby crying on the street. My mother walked by and took pity on me. I must have come from a place of cannibals, and I'm the only one of my kind who exists on this planet." End quote.
Okay, Eileen Warnos. Coming back like Independence Day.
Yeah, but it also kind of reminded me of my Treese when she was having her issues and she was like, "I'm from Mars." I'm like, "What? You're from space? That's your excuse? Is you're from a planet of cannibals? What are you talking about?"
I mean, everyone's got their thing, and that's why they have all these different types of, like, fetishes and, like, porn categories, I guess. But, like, I can't understand what makes someone...
Well, here's the thing about fetishes. Fetishes are only fetishes, and that alone, if they are between consenting adults. So cannibalism, in this case, is not even remotely a fetish. It can't be classified.
No, I know. I'm
fetish.
just saying, like, everyone has these very specific urges and
Desires, right.
Some of them we accept and they're fine, and you can do what you need to with that. But shit like this, if you do have it, you need to bury that shit down deep or work it out with a therapist and be a normal human being.
Army Hammer.
Yes, you hit the nail on the cannibal head. Love our podcast? Then hit that subscribe button and leave us a review.
We're also on Patreon. Head on over to patreon.com/truecrimebuzz and join today for access to all our exclusive content, including bonus episodes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at TC Buzz Podcast.
And check out our website at www.truecrimebuzz.com.
Until next time,
Cheers!